l'histoire s'écrit ici. Ici, c'est Paris.
Welcome to BTL, a sports show that gives you, the viewer, an in-depth analysis on everything between the lines. Now, over the past few weeks, a young football star has been making headlines. Kylian Mbappe has just signed a new deal with PSG, and it's caused quite a stir. So today on BTL, we're going to dive deep into it. His contract, what he's earning, what he's allowed to do now as one of the highest paid football players on the planet. As usual, I'm not alone. I'm joined by resident analyst Bandile. Before we do anything, Kylian Mbappe, how are you?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All these millions flying around. Kylian Mbappe, of course, staying at PSG, but it's going to cost us, yeah.
Just when we thought Real Madrid was all but confirmed.
For me, actually, I just think that was like some really, really good negotiating skills. Making sure that PSG offers the highest, absolute highest amount of money that they can.
So, like I said, that's caused quite a stir.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into it because the League has gotten involved, UEFA's involved. There's lots of people that are now upset about this whole thing.
Yeah.
So before we do that, though, my biggest question out of this whole thing, how on earth, as a 23-year-old, do you basically hand the keys of the club to why do you give a 23-year-old this?
Yeah, I mean...
I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense. And I mean, you've still got your Neymar there. You've still got your Lionel Messi there. How do they feel about this? You know? But funny enough, actually, none of the PSG players actually knew that Mbappe was actually going to stay until the day of the announcement.
Oh, okay.
Which was very interesting. They wanted to keep it a surprise. But in terms of giving him so much power, it could ruin PSG, even Mbappe himself, as we know that he does have a tendency to be very stubborn.
Yeah.
So should he make the wrong call and really put his foot down and say, this is what I want, give me this, and it doesn't work out for the club, it's gonna come back to haunt them. Yeah, but I don't see why a club would actually give a player who's let alone 23 years old so much power, but they have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the viewers at home that don't know or don't quite understand, what they've done with this contract or what's been reported is that he's been given a seat on the board. He has a say on who gets transferred in, transferred out, who the manager is, basically the day-to-day runnings of the club, which is a huge deal for a player to have a say in, especially when he's 23. So another player that I thought would be relatively upset at this whole thing, a guy that likes being the guy, you know, Neymar. So shortly after Kylian Mbappe's deal was announced, news broke that Neymar was linked with a move away from PSG. Mbappe motivated or?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is trying to make it a Mbappe motivated situation, and it's really not. It's really not. It's just that we know that Neymar has always been the star. He's always wanted to be the star. This is why he left Barcelona in order to become the star at PSG until, of course, Mbappe came along. He's now the star. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to leave himself. I know PSG at the same time are ready to take any offers that come, well, reasonable offers. I mean, they did buy him for a lot of money.
Yeah.
200 mil. So that is a lot of money. So they want, of course, a return on investment. And yeah, he's been linked to Chelsea.
Neymar's been linked.
Neymar's been linked to Chelsea. I think it's going to be very interesting should they get him. There's a lot of sort of flair and just overall, like how a player really plays, the quality of Neymar.
Yeah.
There, I feel like it could add a lot to Chelsea should he go there. But it's not really a deal that is set to paper. So yeah.
So in the spirit of deals, contracts, clauses, demands, football stars, I thought for our top 5 segment this week on the show, we'd have a look at some of the craziest demands that players have made in the history of football. There's some very well-known faces and names on this list, and then some faces that you've maybe never heard of, and they have these incredibly outrageous demands.
I can imagine, because everyone thinks they're a star, right?
So I've excited. Let's take a look. Coming in at number 5, and we kick off with La Liga. And in the La Liga, every player has to have a release clause in their contract. While it certainly wasn't strange for Cristiano Ronaldo to have one in his deal, the fact that it was a ridiculous 1 billion euros made it pretty pointless. Real Madrid chief Perez summed it up by saying the release clauses are not there to be paid. If there has to be a sale, it's negotiated. Coming in at number 4 is Neymar. When Barca signed him from Santos in 2013, the Spanish club didn't want him being homesick. Therefore, they agreed to pay an all-expense-paid visit from a group of friends to visit, not once, but every fortnight. Now, our number 3 spot might sound a little out of this world. When Stefan Schwarz signed for Sunderland from Valencia in 1999, he was considering signing up for one of the first commercial flights to space. So Sunderland decided to insert a space clause into his contract. Sunderland's chief executive John Fickling told the BBC at the time, one of Schwartz's advisors has indeed got one of the places on the commercial flights. And we were worried that he may wish to take Stefan along with him. So we thought we'd better get things tied up now rather than at the time of the flight. Luis Suarez makes up our number 2 spot. After biting opponents whilst playing at Ajax, Liverpool and Uruguay, Barcelona didn't want history to repeat itself when they paid £64.98 million for Luis Suarez in 2014. Therefore, they reportedly included a no-biting clause, which meant he would be sold if he did so. Barcelona president Josep Maria Bartomeu has since denied that such a clause exists. Coming in at moment number 1 is German striker Giuseppe Reina, who demanded his club Arminia Bielefeld build him a house for every year of his contract. However, he didn't give any dimensions, and it's alleged that the club had built him 3 Lego houses for the duration of his contract. How wild was that?
Very wild.
Just before we go to the break, okay, real quickly. A house clause in your contract as a footballer. What?
These are the type of things that these players think about.
Yeah.
I honestly hope that he has a kid and he can just give them those houses at this point.
Just all the houses. Coming up after the break, Bandile and I have a look at the numbers coming out of Kylian Mbappe's contract, why La Liga is involved, and what it means for football. Stay tuned. Welcome back to BTL. Now, Bandile is still with me, and we're still doing all things Kylian Mbappe. So with the birth of social media, as soon as the story broke, everyone in the world had his contract at their fingertips. That's why I brought Bandile in, because we've also got his contract. Bandile. Right. So lots happened in the build-up to him signing his new contract. Okay, so first, he was going to Real Madrid. Then all of a sudden he wasn't.
Yeah.
And now La Liga's gotten involved because he didn't go to Real Madrid. Yeah.
And for me, that's really, really unfair. How is La Liga, a whole league now, making these claims pretty much on behalf of Real Madrid? Because we are talking about Real Madrid here with the Mbappe situation. I don't think that's acceptable at all.
I think I see where La Liga is coming from, as well as where Real Madrid's coming from. So La Liga is getting heavily involved for, I think, from the integrity of football aspect of the whole thing, you know, not ruining the game with money.
But that's what they do, isn't it? That's what they do in general. This is why the Super League was a thing. Perez was a big supporter of the Super League. And now all of a sudden, when PSG decides we want to spend more than what is normal to spend for a player, it's suddenly a problem because he didn't go to Real Madrid.
So it's actually interesting you've brought up the Super League, because the La Liga has released a statement with this whole situation, and they actually ended their statement referring to the Super League. And it went a little something like this: it endangers European football on the same level as the European Super League.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because now you're fighting for Real Madrid, and then on the other hand, you're saying it's just as bad as the Super League.
Yeah, who you were
supporting initially. What exactly is happening there? What exactly is happening?
Moving it over to Madrid, though, right? So let's have a look at the contract. Let's start at the beginning, all right? So Madrid got involved. They wanted to offer him 230 mil as a transfer fee. 110 million sign-on, and then 20 million a year after tax.
And that's a very generous offer.
So the total of that is 300 million pounds for one player. All costs included, transfer, signing on, everything.
Imagine.
300
That's a
million
lot of
pounds.
money.
I mean, it's money Madrid have. I'm not saying it's right. And
No doubt. They do have the money, but wow.
Then PSG responded, okay, and they were like, "Oh, you guys, They were like, "You guys think you have money? We've got more." Okay, so this is what is reportedly Kylian Mbappe's new contract. It's a 3-year deal, £1 million per week, just short of, which will make him the highest paid player in world football.
Yeah, by far.
At the age of 23.
Yeah.
Huge.
He hasn't even reached his prime.
No.
Yeah.
No. Then he also gets another 100 million as a sign-on bonus. And then he's also guaranteed bonuses for winning a Ballon d'Or, for winning the Champions League. So on top of,
all of that.
that's where we are with this whole situation.
And then you still have the image rights as well. He's getting 100% of the image rights. By the time he leaves, he's literally going to become a billionaire at this point.
Yeah.
He's literally.
I think he'll actually be a billionaire when he's 24. Like
Which
next
is
year.
next year, yeah.
So I think the overall thing that's coming out of this, right, is what does it mean for football? If we're willing to pay players this young that much money. Just to put it into perspective, right, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's on nowhere near this kind of a deal.
True.
Same age, nowhere near.
True.
What does it mean for football?
I think it's a superstar sort of conversation. If you're a superstar, a very promising one at that, at a young age, you're already going to be making ridiculous amounts of money. That's what it's showing us. In terms of football, I wouldn't really say that paying someone ridiculous amounts of money necessarily kills their game or kills football. Because, I mean, if you take a look, on the day of the actual announcement, he scored a hat-trick. That easily could have gone to his head, and he's like, I'm not going to play that well anymore because, I am who I am at 23 years old. I mean, you can imagine the maturity is probably not that of Lionel Messi. But he's been showing that this is what he wants to do. This is what he's come for.
So you think he can live up to his contract,
Definitely.
the responsibility that this comes with?
Definitely.
Everything.
And I think those Ballon d'Ors are actually coming.
For Kylian Mbappe.
For Kylian Mbappe, yes.
When do you think that the first one's going to be?
I hope next season. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I think now at PSG they understand that Mbappe is here to stay, which means Mbappe is here to win. So everyone needs to not only, I don't want to say accommodate, but rather just pick up their socks in terms of we are a squad, we need to perform, and we need those cups, we need the UEFA. So
let's fast forward to, let's say, the end of next season, right? PSG have won the Ligue 1 again.
Yeah, of course.
They've missed out on Champions League, and they've won maybe a domestic cup in France. Would all of this money that they've just pumped into one single player not be questioned?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But at the same time, this is what PSG, this is what they're all about. They spend a lot of money and they have nothing to show for it besides the domestic league. They're always chasing after the Champions League and spending all these millions and millions, but they have nothing to show for it. But of course, they're not going to stop that until it actually pays, So this is another step towards that direction. Let's spend more money and hopefully we'll get more cups. We'll just have to wait and see if it actually works this time around. But I believe in the boys.
Here's to waiting and seeing how all of this plays out. Something I'm very excited to watch play out is how La Liga have now gotten involved.
Yeah.
So, as I said earlier, they've released a statement. And part of their statement, they have said that La Liga is going to file a complaint against PSG before UEFA, administrative and tax authorities in France, and before competent bodies of the European Union to continue defending the economic ecosystem of European football.
Which is not fair.
On PSG's behalf, or?
Yes, on
Or
PSG's
was it?
behalf. Especially they're complaining to UEFA, which most likely means that they might want Kylian Mbappe not to play in UEFA as a result. Yeah, which is obviously pretty obvious why. He's the man that's scoring the goals. He's the man that can damage a lot of teams. He's the man that can win the Champions League. So by cancelling him out, PSG literally have no leg to stand on. And that's absolutely wrong for me. Yeah.
Before we head to a break, do you think anything's going to come out of this whole... I mean, because obviously now it's going to go into formal proceedings of some kind with any one of these boards or administrations. Do you think anything's going to come out of it?
No. To be honest, I don't think that they have a solid sort of case for what they're doing right now. It's just them just trying to nurse their feelings, really, at this point. Yeah, which is not going to work out. And I really hope that the UEFA board sees it that way for what it actually is, yeah.
Hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But for now, what is going to happen is we're going to go to a break. And then afterwards, Hugo will join us for some facts and numbers. Stay tuned. Welcome back to BTL. Now, Hugo is with us to take us through some player salaries, and they are astounding. Hugo, over to you.
James, they earn a huge amount of money, certainly for the joy that they give some players, but also a huge amount of heartache to go with it. But we're going to start off in Serie A with Juventus. First 4 players all turning out for that Serie A side. Dybala, 13,510,000 euro. Vlahovic, 12,950,000. Szczesny and Bonucci both sitting on 12,030,000 euros. Martinez, Sandro and Koulibaly, 11.1 million euros per annum. Huge amounts of money.
Hugo, I think it's becoming pretty clear who we'd want to play for if we played in the Serie A, yeah?
Well, James, those numbers continue to grow and become more and more astounding. And we go over to Bundesliga, and all these players, the top 5 earners, play for Bayern Munich. Lewandowski, 23 million euros, no surprise there, an amazing striker. Neuer, 20 million euros. Sané on the same amount, as is Kimmich. Lucas Hernandez and Goretzka all earning 18 million euros per annum.
All I'm saying is it's no surprise as to why Bayern wins so many trophies on a yearly basis, right?
Well, no surprise at just how much money the oil-rich countries of the Emirates are putting into football. We take a look at what Neymar's earning, 48,996,000 euros per annum. What an astounding sum. Lionel Messi, 40,500,000. Kylian Mbappe, a little bit lower down on 26.4 million euros. Marquinhos on 14.4 million euros. Marco and Verratti on 6 million euros per annum.
Hugo, you're telling me multiple Ballon d'Or winning Leo Messi does not top this list?
James, what's absolutely astounding is that Gareth Bale hasn't played every single game that he could play for Real Madrid, but he earns the most on 34 million euros per annum. Eden Hazard, 13 million euros. Karim Benzema, 24 million. No surprises there for that marksman. Busquets, 23 million euros. And Kroos, 22 million euros per annum.
The fact that there's only one Barca player on that list is truly astounding.
James, what has to be remarkable in the EPL is that while Manchester City are perceived to be the richest team in the EPL, they do not pay the highest salaries. Those go to Cristiano Ronaldo, 31.56 million euros, who turns up for Manchester United. De Bruyne sitting on 24.720 million euros. He turns out for the Citizens. And the remainder of these players all playing for the Red Devils. De Gea, 23.3 million euros. Jordan Sancho, 21.7 million euros. And Varane, 21.3 million euros per annum. Huge amounts.
Hugo, all I'm saying is it's great that Man United players are actually topping some lists at some point this season before it's officially over, right?
James, you're absolutely right. You're a clever, clever man.
Thank you so much to you, Hugo. Thank you so much to Bandile for joining us today on the show. And as for you at home, thank you so much for tuning in. See you again next time.